Thank you for tuning in to TalkWad.com, the world's fastest growing internet radio network. Please check out all the other great shows on www.talkwad.com.
Thank you for joining us. Tonight, again, we're going to be doing a Course in Miracles. You know what? Thank you for joining us for A Course in Miracles. And as usual, our facilitator will be Michael Bryant. And before we get started, welcoming you to the Center of the Divinely Guided. And just want to talk about a few announcements. Only going to make two tonight. Two tonight. One, I'll just mention that every Friday is Weight Loss Theater. If you are interested in losing weight spiritually, then please join us. You can give us a call at 727-848-3040. The other thing is every second and fourth Saturday at 5:30, we will be doing a Diksha blessing at in Tarpon Springs at Yoga Shakti. So I'd like to get started with A Course in Miracles. So here's Michael. Boy, I'm stumbling tonight. I feel like I need prayer.
We all need prayer.
Okay, hold on. I want to focus the camera on it.
Focus, grasshopper.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Hello. Welcome to A Course in Miracles. And I would like to start us off. If everybody would turn to page 28. You can look for that. It is under chapter 2, special principles of miracle workers. On page 28 in the second edition, you'll see some sentences in italics.
Yeah.
Right above the very next section is called Fear and Conflict, and just above that. Everybody got it?
No, that's not it. Yours is on a different page. You know what page it is, Angelica?
What is it again?
What page?
What were you saying, Mike?
Chapter 2, section 5. Okay, so I want to, in unison, read this, and we'll treat it as an opening prayer.
Okay.
I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do, because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me. I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. So, why don't we go around the room and each person say their name and basically the first thing that pops into your head or heart for the word ego. One or two words, maybe a sentence. Let's start with it, yeah.
When I think of ego, I think of power. And my name's Angelica.
And Angelica.
Ego, not being real. I could think of ego as just something like a form of protection for oneself. That's what I think of ego.
What's your name?
Ryan.
Hi, Rana.
Hi, I'm Deborah. Ego to me means you're losing self-control of everything around you, and you're getting disconnected to really who you are. That's what I feel.
My name is Mike, and when I think of ego, I think of illusion. And who's running the camera?
This is Maureen. When I think of ego, I think of the false self that protects me and yet and still is very harmful to me.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Maureen, when you said, you made the ego sound like a double-edged sword, like there's a good side to it. You said it protects you. What does it protect you from?
No, I said it thinks it protects me.
It thinks it protects you.
me.
Okay.
But it actually harms me.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you were saying both.
No.
Good and bad. Okay.
Well, it actually can't, because it always is looking at my past and trying to judge things from my past, which is where it gets me in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Gets all of us in trouble. I'm thinking a cool thing to do tonight would be to have each of us, we've kind of been working a little bit through the principles, and it's funny because we spent basically 2 classes getting through the first 21 principles. There's a list in the beginning, Deborah, of 50 principles of miracles. And basically, a miracle is a change in perception. We think oftentimes of miracles as, supernatural acts that Jesus did or something, or we give that connotation to it, or if something happens outside of what we normally think of that the people or the world is capable of, we attribute some godly force behind it and say that it's miraculous. But according to the Course, a miracle is any time that we have a change in perception, and specifically when that change in perception is to the understanding level or viewpoint of love, of God. So, the Course teaches that we, in our natural state, is that of oneness and awareness and literally, God's perspective. There is an event which actually sort of corresponds with the story in the Bible about Adam and Eve. And, there was a time going by that story when everything was perfect and they knew no problems whatsoever and it was all beautiful and everything was good. And then something happened. And it's kind of interesting the way that the something happens comes down. There's something that supposedly God said they weren't supposed to know about or do, and don't you do that, and then something else came along, a malevolent entity, in the form of I guess, what some people consider a malevolent type of creature, a snake, and talked Eve into, why was it Eve, by the way? Why didn't she talk Adam into it? You know, men are more gullible than women in most cases anyway, so there's, the patriarchal part of that comes through to me. But anyway, after this thing happened, then everything was different. They looked, they were ashamed, they were, they no longer had peace. Everything wasn't okay. And basically, the figure of God banishes them from their perfection and says, you screwed up, now you're out. Live with it. To me, that's just silly. I can't think, I can't attribute anything that's not of love or peace or joy to my idea of what God is. Mm-hmm. So, but here's the thing, there's actually truth in this story. Because there was an event for all of us that the Course speaks of, which basically is referred to as the separation. And the separation was nothing more than each individual, meaning us and everyone like us, and probably many unlike us that we're unaware of but are still related, sparks of God, children of God, that lost the awareness of who they really were. They lost their awareness that they are part of all that is, that they are eternal, that that there's nothing but peace, love, and joy. That is the awareness level of an enlightened person. That is the awareness level of God and of Jesus and of the holiest people that we can think of that have ever walked and taught on this earth. Was 100% of the time feeling peace, love, and joy, and nothing but peace, love, and joy. That's the awareness level of an enlightened being. That is our natural state. And what happened was that we somehow, basically, what happened was that somehow we got the idea that maybe it would be cool or fun or interesting or whatever to have our own ideas. And that's kind of what started the separation. We decided that we wanted to see things our own way and not things the way that they really are. So what God created is what it is. It's unchangeable, it's truth with a capital T. It's love with a capital L. It's peace with a capital P, and it's joy with a capital J. And it's nothing but that. And anything that we perceive that is not of those things is a misperception. So the separated state created the idea that somehow we are now a little bit different than each other and from everything else that we see around us. And that kind of led to body identification, which is, a huge problem for our awareness level, because we identify, and the world teaches us to identify so strongly with our bodies that is, we develop protective mechanisms against something hurting our body. Well, the truth is that the body is just a part of who you are. It's a very small part of who you are. We are much larger than what this body can contain. And the idea that, when we die, so to speak, the fear that's involved with that is fear of the unknown and not, really knowing who we truly are. So, I'm convinced with all the spiritual work that I've done over the many years that we are here our job, our mission, the reason we are here is to learn, and not even learn, but remember, I like to say, who we really are. And who we really are is part of all that is. And again, I love the analogy of Okay, so here's the ocean, here's the cup. I pull a cup of seawater out of the ocean. So here it is, and there's the ocean. But is there any different between what's in the cup and that? It's the same thing, right? It's made of the same thing. It came from the same place. And quite frankly, you could set that cup right here, and over time, through scientific means, it would evaporate, and it would go up into the clouds, and it would wind up right back into the ocean. It is the ocean, even though it is seemingly separated from the ocean by a container. This body is our container. But we are part of all that is, and we are eternal. And what the Course teaches, even in the intro, which I'll read for Deborah's benefit, the very intro, if we could get that, then we'd have it, and we wouldn't have to read the 669 other pages of the text. But the introduction is this. This is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. Therefore, this course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. It's just beautiful. It's just so powerful. But we really don't get it. We recognize what an amazing few sentences that is, but we don't really truly understand. So we need 669 pages of text and 365 lessons to help clear our mind of all the crap that we've done. And for teachers to remind us that we are all teachers of God, every single one of us, knowingly or unknowingly. And this basically is a self-study course to enlightenment. That's what this is. And it is a course by which some people may reach the knowledge and understanding of who and what they really are. But when it's talking about saying that it is a required course, this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Basically, that means that this information exists in a myriad of forms. This is one of the forms that may well touch your heart, because it certainly has for many other people, but it may not. So, to me, I've literally read hundreds of spiritual / self-help / new age / whatever category you want to give it, but stuff that's supposed to uplift you. And most of the ones that I find most useful have some similar sort of disclaimer in the beginning that say, hey, take this information or leave it. If it has value to you, then and touches your heart, then it's truth. If it doesn't, then it's not. And to me, that's always a great thing for a so-called text that's going to teach you something to say, because how much more truthful does it get than that? Right? This may or may not be your truth.
Right.
Because when we're not tapped into full awareness, we have our own opinions and thoughts and ideas about what things are based largely on our past and experiences and all that. But free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. The curriculum doesn't change. The truth with a capital P of what's in this book does not change, no matter what. So it doesn't, free will, yes, we have free will to do as we choose to, basically to perceive correctly or misperceive is our free will, quite frankly. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. So this is even a hint, and there's many places in this book where it's a promise. Everyone, every brother and sister will awaken and will come to their full knowledge of who they are and the fact that they are part of all that is. And to me, that is such a comfort that basically this, in my opinion, one of the most highest of spiritual texts that's ever been written, basically guarantees that we're all going to get there. We're all going to come into the awareness. And
that's one of my favorite pieces too, because obviously I was raised, not obviously, but I was raised in a church where half of us wasn't going to get there. Matter of fact, just a small handful.
Well, it's even worse. Only 144,000 are allowed, and it's just silly. Yeah, exactly. It's just silly to think that some people are going to get a thumbs up and some people are going to get a thumbs down based on what happened on this planet in a 20 or 50 or 100 year period, based on some decisions that you made. Mm-hmm. It's just silly. So I'm going to hell for eternity because of that?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's silly, but when I was raised, I was having a lot of trouble with God because God just kept feeling like my mom. You know what I'm saying? When I was good, you got a reward. And when you was bad, you got slapped down. But yet still they kept telling me that this God was just all loving and he was more loving than I could ever be. And I was sitting
unless you break his rules.
Yeah, well, unless you break his rules.
And then you got some
real punishment.
Maybe even some smiting or something.
Yeah, but for me, I try to imagine somebody that would be way more loving than me, but yet and still, like, I have a daughter that I love her to pieces. She does wrong, but I still love her to pieces. There is nothing that child could do, absolutely nothing she could do, that I would be willing to douse her with gasoline and watch her burn for eternity. And if God is more loving than me, then he can't do it either. And that is where I would get stuck up on religion and God. The God I had to serve, I had to find a religion where he was more loving than the God I was being taught about. Because at that point, I felt like I was a little more loving than God was. I wouldn't do that to anybody. Not even somebody who did something horribly wrong. So
this is the crust of the problem for a lot of people's spiritual lives. A lot of people literally shut off their interest and pursuit of so-called spiritual matters because what they were taught made no sense to them.
Now, it makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. It does. There are a lot of people that believe that, and I don't have anything against
that. But does it make sense,
you know?
Or are they just overlooking things that don't make sense and going with the, you must have faith that this is how it is, which is basically the standard answer if you ever,
I have had them argue.
You were to question a Catholic priest.
When I have questioned them, because there was a time in my earlier year when I was a lot more rebellious, and I was ready to fight for religion. You know what I'm saying? Okay, well, what about this? And what about, and you go toe-to-toe with people that don't do it anymore. But when you would have deep discussions, you'd be surprised that the stuff that they would come up with to prove explain and justify
right.
their
crazy answers.
Their gods that kill people and burn them forever and all kinds of stuff.
So here's the thing, it's almost not fair. It's like so easy to somehow look down on or talk negatively about what happens in a lot of churches and religions. It's almost not even fair. It's just like so easy to point out the things that are wrong with it.
However, yet still, we're all equal.
Absolutely. So what I was just going to say is that, a big principle that this course helps us to remember is that of non-judgment. Anytime we're in judgment of anything, we're in error, because we are no better or no worse than anything that we can look at or think about. Everything is equal in the eyes of love. So, there's so many things that happen on this planet, and we're taught from such an early age to do so many things that go against and that go against our true nature. We're taught to judge. We are judged against from an incredibly early age. You do something, oh, that's bad. There has to be, you did this bad thing, so you have to have a punishment. There has to be a consequence. So, this is kind of how the egos in the world work, and we teach brand new souls as they come in how to develop their ego. That's what we do. The ego really is a falsely created sense of self, which in fact is incredibly detrimental to our spiritual understanding and awakening and knowledge of who we really are, because the ego is a falsely created entity. It's not real. It's an illusion. That was my word earlier. It's an illusion. It's not true.
For me, it's like control. Tries to control you.
And yet it's a very detrimental thing, because everything that comes of the ego, which for people who are not consciously trying to stop listening to what the ego tells them to do, everything is fear-based. Everything of the ego is fear-based. And A Course in Miracles teaches that you can break everything down at its simplest level to, it falls in one of two categories. It's either of love or it's of fear. That's the only two. That's a wonderful litmus test for us to use in our daily lives. At any given moment, and it's pretty, once you start like catching yourself with it, it's pretty easy. Is this thought of love or is this thought of fear? And if it's of fear, it's not real. We're misperceiving it. So, and actually because this touches on what I said. The book doesn't aim at...
Michael, can I just share with everybody, if you have questions or if you don't understand something, because some of us have been doing this for a while, some of us have not, so we've got all different levels here. Just jump in or say, explain that, or I don't understand that.
Please
or
do.
Just
And
feel free.
I'm just, I think Deborah said she was new to this, so I'm just kind of laying some groundwork, and I'm reminding you guys of some of the things that I've said in the last three classes. Because this is all baseline information for understanding what all this text says to us. It's either of love or it's of fear. That's it. It's so easy when you can break down. And the mind wants to trick you and say, oh, well, what about this? What about that? I don't know. Well, this is kind of a neutral emotion. No, it's not. It's either of love or it's of fear. And, the list of additional attributes that we can attribute to love or fear starts growing large when you think about it. You start with love, peace, joy, happiness, kindness, friendship, compassion. All these words that we can kind of naturally know have a positive connotation, they fall under love. And everything like, anger, hate, greed, jealousy, all these types of things that are easily identifiable with a negative state fall under fear.
That's very true.
So sometimes things seem like they are not, sometimes things seem like, well, I don't know if that's love or fear. Just to dig deeper. Is this a love or a fear? If you ask yourself that 100 times a day, your spiritual growth will be so fast. Your awareness level of what's happening on a moment by moment basis is going to just freak you out. Because when you really start paying attention to the way that your mind works, there's the mind with the capital M, which is basically us connecting to God and love's awareness. And then, but most of the time, our mind is just kind of just good. How many times do you just catch it? What the hell is that? Where did that come from? The mind has a mind of its own. And that mind that has a mind of its own is the ego mind. So I love Eckhart Tolle, who his teachings to me are basically straight from A Course in Miracles. And there's a lot of the best teachers today. David Hawkins, Eckhart Tolle, there's a bunch of them, Wayne Dyer, many of today's best and best known spiritual teachers. What they are talking about is coming directly from this book.
Marianne Williamson.
Well, she's very involved. She's directly involved with the Course in Miracles.
That's all she does.
This is a great primer for this book. Some of this stuff, if you don't really know where it's coming from, it can be hard to read. If you read this book first, it will do such a good job of what I'm trying to do here in a short period of time, which is lay some groundwork for you.
Is that Return to Love?
Yeah. Return to Love.
Okay.
Marianne Williamson, A Return to Love. Highly recommend this if you want to study this course. Read them both at the same time. She will really help you understand what Jesus is trying to say. By the way, this is attributed to Jesus. Jesus wrote this book via channeling of all people, basically unwilling Columbia psychology professor. So, how the beginning of the regular book explains kind of how it came into being, and there's plenty of other information about that. But the bottom line is that this information is attributed to the exact same entity that walked this earth and that was known by the name Jesus. That's what this says. Now, I think, and it's the same thing really, because Jesus' awareness level was that of complete enlightenment, of oneness. He was a completely enlightened individual, and but I like the term Christ because Christ consciousness is the collective awareness level of that level. It is basically, there's a hierarchy with God at the top, and then two equal components being, the sonship, and the traditional Trinity is Father, Son, Sonship. This teaches it wasn't one person, it wasn't one guy, it's all of us, and the Holy Spirit. Now, those three elements are all operating at their highest level, at the same awareness level. Even though God is the initiator and creator, it's all one awareness level. And according to the Course, the Holy Spirit, which is the third part of the Trinity, I find this quite interesting, is actually it's your highest self. The perfect part of you, basically, that God has held in trust while your awareness level dallies with the ego. That's what the Holy Spirit is. It's not some spooky thing, it's you. It's your highest awareness level. And we can all tap into that. All of us do from time to time. the old woman's intuition. Well, everybody has intuition. And we've all experienced times where we had feelings, we had senses, we kind of just knew something, and it was because we did know, and we do know. So, tapping into that, there's people that are amazing at that. There's people that really have like what would be considered, true psychic ability, true, they can just pull stuff out of the ether and it's verifiable in this world. Well, yeah, because we all have that. So, but, the Course described the Holy Spirit's job is basically to act as a go-between between your unrealized self and connecting with the highest awareness level. But it's all, in a way, if you want to individualize it, it's you, it's your highest self. If you can think of, the idea that you have a highest self, that's the Holy Spirit to you. So you can ask your translator. The Holy Spirit acts as a translator, so that you can help perceive what love's perspective is in any given area. So it's really just up to us, and this is another huge thing that really just comes up over and over and over and over again. Our perception is never going to be correct. Our worldly understanding is always, to a degree at least, misperceived. It's only when we are able to see through God's perspective, through love's eyes, that we are truly perceiving. So, the fact of the matter is, most of us can look around the world, and I guess probably the more you watch the news, the more this feels that way. But we can just look around the world and say, man, this place is screwed up. God, there's some unbelievable stuff happening. People are, shooting children in schools, and there's wars, and that tsunami just came, and, it's so easy to misperceive. The fact of the matter is, according to this information, that we are literally sitting in the middle of heaven, right here, right now, and we don't see it. If our awareness level could be different, everything changes. Everything changes. So, the idea of this Course, the reason that we can't be at that awareness level is multifaceted, but the bottom line is that we have learned how to misperceive, and it's probably, the Course takes a neutral position on reincarnation and says, quite frankly, it doesn't matter, because all that ever matters is right now, because that's really all there is. But, we are able to, when we're able to ask for help to perceive properly, that is the key to being able to perceive properly. Because, there was no asterisk next to, there's a lot of truthful statements in the Bible, and one of them was, asking that should be given to you. There is no asterisk there. It is simply a matter of proper perception, and it's not about being given things. If we associate our ideas with and assign importance to things that are not, the Course basically teaches that nothing, going back to the introduction, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Here's what that means. The only thing that's real with a capital R is that which God created and that which is eternal. That's the definition of something that's real with a capital R. So if you look around this world and you get out a piece of paper and you try and start writing down the things that you can actually think of that God created and are eternal, how many can you really come up with? Not many, right?
Well, if you do, it'll either be based under love or things, right?
It can only be based under love.
Yeah, it can only be based under love.
So what's of love that God created that will always be? What does that consist of?
Well, they're just derivatives of love, like joy and peace and stuff like that.
Right, but I mean,
But it still falls under love.
Is this eternal? No. Is anything that my eyes can set on in this room eternal?
Anything
Only
you
me.
can see.
Right,
No.
exactly. No, you're right. That's the
No.
point.
But
That's exactly what I'm
me
saying.
and them.
That's the point. The answer is that nothing is real except us. And the proper perception of us, which is that which about us consists of love, peace, and joy, and nothing else. So, I mean, I love this concept because, you know,
It just helps you look at the world differently.
totally. But okay, so let's think of this. A close relationship is often said to provide the best opportunity for deeper understanding. Now, sometimes when it's happening in the world, it can be a painful thing. Oftentimes, the closer the relationship, whether it's a spousal situation or a long time, you know, when you're with the boyfriend, girlfriend for a long time, or your kids, I think kids are a little different, especially for women, just because that you just have that natural love for your children. Which I'm sure is in some way some small aspect of how God feels about each and every one of us. But, you know, there's just not much that is able, if it's not for peace and it's not for love and it's not for joy, it didn't really happen. So if you can think back to your ex-husband and all the things that, you know, I'm not assuming everybody or anybody has an ex-husband. I'm just saying that as an example. Okay? A lot of crap probably went down with your ex-husband. That's why he's your ex-husband.
Or ex-boyfriend.
Or ex-boyfriend, or whatever. You know, and the closer the relationship, the longer term the relationship, the more the ego comes into play and creates its own dynamics that start doing this. So, but if you step back, I love this idea. Have you noticed? Let's say think of a past so-called love relationship. Have you noticed that it's a past for a reason? Things went bad at some point, right? Otherwise, you'd still be with the person and still be happy. At some point, you know, because things went bad, you decided that you wanted to separate from the person. But as time is not real either, but as the illusion of time proceeds and we get farther and farther away from it, what do you find happening to your remembrances of that person? Anybody?
Fading away.
It's not as extreme, it's not as intensified as it was before. It's like, yeah.
And sometimes you start thinking about the good things about them, and you start even wondering what was it that went wrong.
Exactly. And that was exactly what I was going for. To me, this is what happens to me if I'm in the situation that I set up. After a period of time, I kind of forget the bad stuff that happened, and all I really remember was the good stuff that happened. Well, according to the Course, that's all that ever really happened. Everything else wasn't real. It was all just imaginary. We made it up. We screwed ourselves, we screwed up our own thinking by thinking that there was something other than love going on. So, The only thing that's real, again, is the love and the joy that you shared with that person. That's eternal. Love is an eternal entity. Love is the most powerful thing anywhere. It is. Love is. And so I wanted to throw that out there because, if you can think back on a past relationship that went bad, and then find yourself just kind of basically, either being neutral about it, or especially if if your remembrances are basically all, the good things that happened and you forget all the bad things, that's your natural state. That's what's supposed to happen. Because only the good things really did happen, and only the good things will ever be true in the future, whatever future now happens. So, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. That's a pretty bold statement. So if nothing real can be threatened, and the only thing that's real is that which God made and is eternal and is of love, that pretty much narrows everything down. And if nothing unreal exists, everything which is not of peace and love and joy is not real. So we are completely misperceiving everything that we see that is not of love. We're just misperceiving it. Now the brain can sit here and say, oh, but well that really happened. Those people died, or this or that, or whatever. It never happened. It's a misperception. We are sitting in the middle of the kingdom of heaven with our eyes squinted shut. Maybe we can barely see some things, It's called the veil oftentimes for a reason. We aren't able to perceive properly. And the reason we're not able to perceive properly is because we have covered up our true awareness and our true nature with so much crap, for lack of a better word, that we can't see it. So, the purpose of this book is to, as this says, remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Because when those blocks are removed, there's nothing left but love. And that's all there is. So, it's an arduous task for some of us. We are our own worst enemy. Our ego selves are our own worst enemy. And when we pay attention to what the ego is telling us, it's not going to go well from higher perspective. And when we're asking for help and asking to be shown from love's perspective, the Course talks about holy instances. Every single one of us has had a moment or a series of moments where we truly felt it. We really felt it. And